Hey everyone, welcome back to Prescribed Vibes. I'm Sierra.
I'm Stephanie, and today we're really excited. And we were joking around earlier about how this topic might be lengthy. We're going to talk about something that has somehow become both easier and exponentially harder, and that's dating, my friends.
Ooh, dating in 2026 has basically become an unpaid internship in emotional regulation at this point.
Seriously, it's like mental gymnastics, emotional gymnastics. You have to be attractive, emotionally unavailable. I'm sorry, emotionally available.
Emotionally unavailable is more accurate to what is happening.
Exactly. Mysterious, but you don't want to be avoidant. You want to be confident, but not too confident and cocky. Then you want to be communicative, but also you don't want to talk someone's ear off and type away. Independent, but you also want to be interested.
There's really no winning. Apparently, you're supposed to respond within a reasonable amount of time without seeming like you're just waiting by your phone as if we don't all just have it on us in front of our face 75% of the day. It's the hot, cold, I'm interested, but I'm not. I see that you texted, but I need to wait a reasonable amount of time to reply. It's just games. It's a lot of games.
Games, absolutely. You don't want to appear too eager, but then you also want to be yourself. So, which means everyone, I think, is simultaneously trying to appear like they care. What, like maybe a quarter of the time, less than we actually care?
Yeah, and then we wonder why we're all confused and relationships aren't working out and dating is so terrible. We're not being real out here.
Right. We want to be, but it's hard. So, let's start with the obvious question. Why does dating feel so different now?
Mostly because it is different. Like, I literally was scrolling this morning and an ad popped up, and it was this girl talking about how everyone always asks me how I met my amazing, perfect husband, and, it's been 10 years. And I'm like, if you met him 10 years ago, whatever you have to say after this is not relevant to me. Like, that was my immediate thought.
So true. Yes.
Dating apps have fundamentally changed how we meet people, and yes, they've been around for more than 10 years, but they change all the time, and we have changed along with them. It's created this evolution. Social media means we're constantly exposed to other people's relationships, their bodies, their lifestyles, vacations, and everything seems perfect in their lives. And then there's this illusion that there's always more options. What it like, okay, this one's all right, but what if there's something more? What if this person over here, right? It is connection overload, and it is short-circuiting our brains.
Yeah, I think that for me, I was going to talk about connection, but I won't go on a tangent. I think when you were describing all that, or it's just like an all you can choose from buffet, and it sounds great until your brain realizes, oh, I have unlimited options. And that can be very difficult for decision making because you can swipe and no, nope, this person is an atheist. Oh, nope, this person is religious. And then your brain's like, okay, what? Let's just narrow it down here. Let's take it easy. That's a lot. It's a lot for our brains to take in.
Yeah, when we have too many options, it's not necessarily a good thing. It doesn't make us happier. We can actually become more anxious, and the anxiety of making the right choice, right, gets overwhelming. And our brain wants to take the path of least resistance. So if you have 72 trillion options over here to the left and putting in the effort and the work with the person that you're with on the right, which one's probably easier?
And then this is just dating apps, right? We haven't even gotten into meeting someone out and about. But basically, with dating apps, you have your swipe. Well, maybe, potentially. Let's swipe again. Oh, no, too emotionally available. Swipe again. Oh, nope, you're not emotionally available enough. So it's just really hard. I think it just makes it a little bit complicated than when dating apps weren't around and you would meet people out and about or at work. And now people are working from home, so it's harder. And you feel like you don't really have much of a choice but to jump on the dating apps because you're working 40-hour weeks or more. And then how do you make time to meet people out?
Yeah. When we're constantly presented with potential alternatives, it's harder to tolerate like the regular stuff, the normal imperfections of getting to know one person. And the second someone annoys us or disappoints us or doesn't give us what we want, we could just choose somebody else, talk to somebody
Yep.
else, connect with somebody else.
We can just go back to the buffet, get in line.
I hate it.
Get in line to go swiping.
And sometimes it's healthy, right? Like sometimes someone genuinely isn't compatible with you, and that's okay. You know, I
Yeah.
got unmatched with this morning. Someone I've been chatting with, and I've been enjoying the conversation, and we had a miscommunication. And he unmatched with me, and I was a little sad about it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we could have had a conversation about that." Like
Oh,
I he mentioned he has cats. I mentioned that my dog has a zero tolerance policy for cats. I was like being humorous, right? And he's like, "Well, it looks like that's the end of things for us." And I kind of like laughed it
wow.
off. I thought he was kidding. And he's like, I'm serious. I don't know why people keep swiping on me when I clearly state in my profile that I have cats. And then he unmatched me. So I didn't even have a chance to respond. And I was like, what? Like,
Wow.
we weren't even to a place where we needed to figure out a situation of whether our cat and our dog were compatible. Like we haven't even met yet, but okay.
Wow. Okay. I love miscommunications on apps, and I love when people were disagreeing because it really throws out a test, right? Immediately. Let's see how you handle this. Let's see how we communicate. And
Yeah.
some really step up and say, oh, okay, like, let's talk about this. And then others are just so quick to be like, nope, non negotiable, or nope, I'm not touching the subject. I'm not going to even entertain. Bye. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for showing your true colors right away because,
Hmm.
we could have
It's
probably,
information.
it's information. We could have
It's like,
probably
oh,
see,
go
but
ahead.
this could have been something that happens down the road, and then here I am a
Hmm.
few weeks in realizing that's how you handle
Uh-huh.
miscommunication. So,
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was like, well, because at first I was like, no, like I want to clarify, of course we want to feel understood and heard, and I wanted to clarify, but we don't have the option to continue the conversation. And then I was like, no, actually, wait, that's information. And if we were going to be able to have a conversation about something like that, we would have in this situation. So that's all I need to know, actually.
yep.
But it's easy to I don't know, interpreting this normal relational discomfort as evidence that like the relationship is wrong, just being so quick to be like, nope, I'm out of here, I'm out of here, that doesn't work for me, that made me a little uncomfy. We're not taking the opportunity to clarify, to resolve conflict or miscommunications, or to say, hey, I don't really like that. Instead, it's like off with your head immediately.
Speaking of that, so whether it's unmatching, the ghosting, right, slow fading, the entire death of communication, we have an entire episode on ghosting. We can touch on it a little bit, which we just did. That some people, that's just their way of dealing with things. And I'm not going to address this. I don't want to confront these feelings. So I'm just going to end it right here, right now.
Yeah, that feels better than rejection or having to confront someone and potentially face conflict, but it creates so much for the other person. And again, we talk about that a lot. I want to say it was literally like episode 3, so you got to go back in time. But um,
The one thing I
but
want the listeners to take away from us skipping through the ghosting is that it's never about you necessarily. It's about that
mhm.
person and how they handle whatever's going on that made them decide to just dip out.
Which again is information. Like if you're the type of person who's just going to disappear without any sort of communication, clarification, no warning, no courtesy, no compassion, that's not the type of person that I want to be connected with anyway. So it does hurt, and I don't want to invalidate that, but to stop ourselves in those negative thought loops where we're like, what did I do wrong and where did I go wrong and what about this? Or rehearsing the conversation in your mind about how it could have went if you did get to respond or whatever. No, just try to shut it down, interrupt it, and say, okay, like you said, thank you for showing your true colors. That's all I need to know.
Exactly. And goodbye. So now, one of my favorite topics, attachment theory, enters the chat. So
Ooh.
let's bring this into our episode because TikTok has diagnosed approximately 94% of the population with an attachment style.
And everyone has an avoidant ex.
Yes, everyone.
Attachment theory can be incredibly useful, and it is helpful information, but for the layman to be assessing an attachment style accurately and interpreting what it means and what to do about it, like let's not turn it into astrology. Your attachment style isn't just like this permanent personality type. It's not I'm anxious, therefore I'm doomed. It's not I'm an avoidant, therefore I can't love. They're adaptive strategies and they're not concrete. And so there are ways that we learn to navigate closeness and vulnerability and conflict and perceived rejection, but we can always make adjustments and have awareness and heal and grow in those ways. They are not a death sentence.
Absolutely. And we have an episode on attachment styles, and I highly encourage everyone to learn about attachment styles because that is also information about yourself, about others, and what it means, and how to better understand right potential partners. But also, an example would be if when someone becomes distant, sometimes you might feel, depending on your attachment style, you might suddenly feel desperate for reassurance. And that doesn't mean you're crazy. There are other factors that get in the way. It doesn't mean they're immediately labeled avoidant. Yes, sometimes that is true, but be careful as to what you're making it mean about yourself.
Yeah, and in that case, this anxiety that comes up, if anything changes or becomes distant, we need that reassurance constantly. Your nervous system detected a threat, something you interpreted as evidence to support that maybe you're going to be abandoned. Maybe this person is detaching or, they're not as interested as you thought they were. But a feeling is information. It's not instruction. Again, here's one of my little things, and I maybe said this before, but feelings are like kids in the car. You can't let them drive because that's not cool. They're gonna run you into a wall, but you also can't shove them in the trunk either because that that's not good. So they need to be present. You need to be aware of them, but they don't get to take over. It's information, not instruction. Feelings aren't facts. You can feel the urge to text someone without texting them. You can feel rejected without trying to convince someone to choose you. You can miss someone without choosing to try to go back to them. And you can be anxious without acting on that anxiety and making a decision based on it.
And we've talked about this. Obviously, we're therapists and we are always going to preach and encourage, feel your feelings. We have a whole other episode on that. But it is a pretty powerful dating skill to be able to be aware of what you're feeling, take a step back, and assess, okay, this is information. I understand. This is what I'm feeling, and that's okay. It doesn't immediately have to jump into a narrative or a story about yourself or the other person, but it is so helpful to recognize the more I pay attention to how I feel and my energy around people, the easier it's become to navigate what relationships I want to continue to pursue, which relationships I want to invest more or less time in when my social battery is done. So, all that to say is to please make it a priority to really stay attuned with yourself and work on that relationship with yourself because it's going to be probably your most useful skill, not just in dating, but in life.
100%. I think that's our whole tagline here across the podcast in general. You being the manager of your feelings, you being the constant in your life. Everyone else is, potentially going to come and go. And so you having a strong relationship and attunement and connection with yourself is absolutely the most important thing. And when you feel really secure in that person, other people coming and going doesn't feel so detrimental.
Agreed.
So let's talk about situationships.
Oh boy. So, situationships, the relationship Costco sample. Who doesn't like a Costco sample?
A little taste, just a little. I'm not actually going to buy anything. I just want to walk through the store and
Mm-hmm.
taste all the things,
Takes all the things. Tastes so good, so nice. I don't even have to pay for it. Don't really, it doesn't take much of myself to get this sample.
Exactly. I just walk up, they give it to me, I walk away. Bye forever.
And there's some benefits to that, right?
Sure. I mean, you can get intimacy, you can get sex, you can get emotional support, sleepovers, and some inside jokes, maybe. Maybe some trauma history. Maybe we got their Netflix password at some point. But it's a detached, keeping people at arm's length. I want to be connected with you, but I don't want to commit to you.
Exactly. I always call it, I want the connection without the commitment. And you know what? No judgment. Go for it. If sometimes that's what we need in our lives until we're ready, and as long as you're aware of that and the other person, who is anybody to judge? Do you? But I think it is
100%.
important to just at least have a conversation about it. So,
Hmm.
because that word is thrown out so often, situationship. And it does sometimes it gets to that point where someone, not always, because some people just know what it is, but sometimes it gets to that point. So the other person is catching feelings and they no longer want this to be a situationship. And they're like, what are we?
Oh no, not the what are we? Don't DTR. Suddenly everyone's nervous system leaves the building. Like, ah! Like you said, they're not inherently bad. Some people really do want casual relationships, and that works for them. And even if it's a bridge, right, to I'm not ready for a commitment, but I do want to be connected with someone. Some people don't want traditional monogamy, Some people do want companionship without commitment, and the problem is not undefined relationships, but it is often undefined expectations. And if we're not clear and on the same page with each other, that's where people get hurt.
Yes, undefined expectation. That is the distinction, right? Where that conversation probably isn't had up front. The what are you looking for? What are your intentions? So that we're on the same page and you can make a fair assessment of what you're getting into. Does this work for me? And I think sometimes people don't have those conversations because it's gives people the ick sometimes, or it's too uncomfortable and I just sound so serious trying to figure it out right from the beginning. But it can save you heartache. It can be very beneficial to have. So then do I want to? Do I want to do this? Do I not?
Yeah, healthy relationships can really feel like work, especially in the beginning. And a lot of people have that kind of backwards where like it should just be easy in the beginning. If it's this hard, and this hard doesn't mean, conflict and disagreements and crossing each other's boundaries and that kind of thing. But like, why are we having so many serious conversations? Well, because we need to get to know each other and get on the same page. And what do you want? What do I want? And what works for me and what works for you? And do those things align? And that might look like a lot of conversations and teaching each other, like, ooh, hey, I don't like that. I want more of this. This doesn't work for me.
And I like that you said, sometimes you don't want to have that conversation or it's serious. I think years ago, I think in my 20s, I definitely was more avoidant and I would be a little turned off by that. Like, what? You want to know what I'm looking for? No, I'm not going to show my cards. I don't know. Just go with it. See where the wind takes us. And now I've learned we're not doing that anymore. So maybe the question isn't, what are we?
Yeah. What are we can feel like a lot of pressure and again, like a necessity to define, but like, what do you want this to be? I call it a temperature check. Where are you at? Here's where I'm at. If we have to be very, very honest with ourselves, and we are responsible for ourselves, especially in these situations, if you know that the person that you're connecting with has been clear about, I'm not looking for anything, this is a situationship, for lack of a better term, and you're like, I mean, we're basically dating, eventually they'll commit. As they spend enough time with me, they get to know me enough, like this will just become habit, you know. That's where you're gonna get hurt. So having these clear expectations, we don't even need to define a relationship before we know whether this relationship even meets our needs. I call I wish this was a real thing. I actually did look it up.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, dating is just data collecting. It's just a compound word for data collecting. We're here to find out about each other and gather information.
And it's
We
not
can,
just data collecting about the other person, you're learning about yourself.
oh, 100%. So being open to like having a big enough sample size. I know sample size is how many people, but
Back to
having it,
Costco.
yeah, yeah. But gathering enough information about someone to make an educated decision. We have a tendency to connect with someone and we vibe right away and we're like, head first diving in. This is exactly what I want, what I've been looking for. Okay, you have a week's worth, 3 weeks worth of information about this person. You need to see them in different scenarios in different, seasons of life. And you need to make sure that what they're telling you now, they still back up in 3 months from now. So you can notice that you feel that way and be excited about that, but check your feelings with some facts and make sure that we have enough facts to to allow our feelings to progress in that way. We often find ourselves very attached to people who turn out to be someone else, but we're already attached to them. And it's not as easy
No,
to
it's
use
not.
logic at that point and say, oh, the evidence that I now have, this is not someone that I want to be with. But my attachment system is already involved. And so logic doesn't really apply here. And I can't get out of this.
Yeah, it's too late, right? The hooks are in deep. The attachment has kind of solidified there. And I've been guilty of that. Oh, we have chemistry. We connect. We are laughing. We are so easy to talk to. Let's just keep going. And then, whoops, I didn't realize you have a drinking problem. But,
Mm.
it's occasional.
Right? Or I know who they can be because that's who they were initially, and I just need to try harder and do more to get them back to that place so they can be what I need them to be.
Yes. Oh, I've
No.
seen that side of you. You can get there again. I believe in you.
Well, and when we take it on too, like, oh, it must have been something I did wrong. How do I access that version of them again? You
Yeah.
know,
And we have an advantage, obviously, because we are therapists and, we've done a lot
do
of
we
work.
have an advantage, Steph? Because
I
how's it
feel
going for
like
you,
we
girl?
do. I feel like we do.
No, we do.
I feel like if I didn't do as much work, I would be in another, who even knows? I would
Yes.
see,
We have the gift of discernment,
yeah.
which
And we've
ends
talked
up
about
looking like
this. We don't want to,
singleness because
sorry, we're both so excited about this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we have the ability to see it and choose, and that means we've got discernment, and we're saying, I'm gonna be patient and I'm gonna wait for someone who is genuinely a good fit for me, and I'm not going to attach to someone too soon or who doesn't have what I need from them. And that does look like, being single longer or more often maybe because we're not willing to overlook things and settle into a situation that's not for us.
Yep. And I think you and I have talked about we're also being very careful to not overcorrect, right? Where we're super
Mhm.
rigid and this person has to check these boxes and I have to feel a certain way all the time. Like we are very mindful of that, which is a great segue to talking about boundaries versus rules. And we've talked a lot about boundaries. You hear that word probably a lot more than ever. And I think it gets confused in modern dating, right? And even maybe in friendships too, boundaries. People say
Mm.
things like, If they don't text me within 24 hours, I'm done. Don't get me wrong, I've been there. If you don't show up this way, it's over.
Yeah. We want to be careful not to be too rigid, right? Like that's maybe not necessarily a boundary and more of a rule.
So, what would you say is the difference?
I think a boundary is going to describe what you will do, what you're what you're willing to tolerate or not. But a rule might dictate what somebody else has to do. For
Okay.
example, if you repeatedly disappear without communicating, I'm going to step away from the relationship. That's a boundary. If you say, you have to text me every single day or you are disrespecting me, that's more like a rule.
Right. So one is really what you're going to do. So I'm going to stop engaging, investing time. I'm going to go in a different
Mhm.
direction. The other one's like, you must do. I'm like pointing my finger right now because that's what it reminds me of. You need to do this. So boundaries aren't punishments. Let's get that clear.
Yeah, and if it feels like it is a punishment, that's more of a protest behavior. A boundary isn't like, I'm gonna block you so you realize what you lost. It's, ooh, this isn't healthy for me, so I'm gonna remove myself from it. And on the surface, they can sometimes look similar, but they come from a very different place within us. They feel different in our body and in our mind.
Yes, I'm really hoping this makes sense. It's not that you're not allowed to have rules. It's more about remembering that you can't control other people. You can only control your response. And
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't even have to be a conversation, especially if the boundary that was crossed is, you know, pretty severe, then you can just remove yourself from the situation. There's been instances, not even in dating, in just events or places I've gone to where I'm recognizing, okay, well, the vibe here, I'm done with this and it's time for me to just call it a night. And you don't even have to communicate it. You don't even have to talk about it. It's like, this is what I'm going to do, and everybody else have a great time.
Yeah, and so I mean, I have an example of a situation recently where I set a boundary and then it eventually led to the connection ending and I was clear about that too. We know I like to be clear and direct and and so, I was connected with someone who was going really well, but they had a tendency to kind of like disappear early in the evening until later in the morning and I said, "Hey, you kind of disappeared last night, didn't hear from you until late this morning. I really didn't like that." And we had a conversation around it, and it was, okay, I hear you. I'm sorry. I'll do better. And then a couple weeks later, they disappeared for approximately 40 hours.
Whoa.
And I was like, are you okay? Because my mind immediately goes to obviously this person must have had serious bodily harm or death
Wow,
because
you gave them
to
the
ignore
benefit of the
me is
doubt.
crazy. I do. Yes, to a fault sometimes. And so I'm like, eventually I'm like, are you okay? And then finally, again, like 40 hours after the disappearance happens, I'm like, if you're like trying to step away, that's okay, but I'd rather have a conversation about it than just be ghosted. And he responds, he's like, "Oh my gosh, no, not at all. I'm so sorry. I definitely don't want to walk away. I want this to be something. I really like you. I had a super crazy day yesterday and I can't wait to tell you all about it. But work's just been wild today and I hope you had a good day and I was like, "Okay, I hear you, but we've had a conversation about this already, and the communication's just lacking for me. Like, it takes a few seconds to send someone a text, and I made it clear that I was worried by asking if you were okay, like 14 hours ago. So, yeah. And so it doesn't have to be harsh, and it didn't come from an icky place within me. And I've felt that before, where it's like, the protest behavior coming out and wanting to be like, fight for me and, you know, prove me that I'm wrong. And no, it's just like,
Yes.
it's like, no, we've had this conversation. This is not something that I'm interested in continuing to feel and experience. And so I'm okay with that. We
Good for
set
you.
that's the
That's
boundary.
great.
Girl, and it's growth, let me tell you.
It is growth, right? No, when you think about, wow, in the past, I probably would have thrown a tantrum. Who even knows? But now it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I see what's happening within you and me. And when you were talking about it takes seconds, there was someone on TikTok. I saw this video and I loved it. It had, I think, millions of likes. This guy grabs the phone and records. And
Yeah.
did you see that? He's like, "Hey, I'm having
Yes.
a super busy day. I just wanted to let you know I saw your message and we'll talk later." And it was just like, I don't even know, I think 9 seconds.
Yep.
So again, information, not everybody values that. They have different values. That's okay. If you don't think that's important, cool. That's the way you look at the world, no problem. But that means for some of us that we're just not gonna continue with that dynamic and construct of a potential
Yeah.
relationship.
What you naturally have to offer does not meet the needs that I naturally have.
Yes. Right. Love that. Exactly. And sometimes it can be little tweaks and adjustments and a little training for each other. But if it requires too much, then some of us are like, nah, we're good. That's just,
Yep.
we're not going to do this whole, I call it a project. Sorry, everybody. I don't want
Yeah, I
to
mean, we
do
don't
that.
want to, it's not, yeah, a project or just falling in love with potential. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like we've all been there too, where it's like, oh, well, I like this, that, and the other thing, and maybe I can work on getting them where I need them to be with these other things too. Like, this is not Frankenstein's monster build a partner workshop. Like,
Build a partner workshop. Wow. Imagine that. That's funny.
so let's talk about dating while healing because a lot of
Yes.
people have an idea that like, oh, so, some of y'all are not ready to date. Fair, but you do not have to be a finished product to date somebody, and sometimes that healing comes with through connection, right? So
Sometimes. Sometimes it's
yes,
okay to not jump in
consult
right
your
away.
therapist along the way, okay?
Sometimes it's okay to not jump immediately to trying to connect. There have been instances where I'm like, "What? You broke up when? Like last week? Whoa, okay." Um Again, not being judgmental, just information and me wanting to really understand, are you sure you're good?
And
Um
that's not even just to say like immediately out of a relationship type of healing. Absolutely. If you just got out of a relationship a week ago, you need to take your time and be done with one thing and heal and move on. But healing is more than, right? Like working on ourself is more than just, oh, I just got out of a relationship. You don't have to be where you like fully finished product and healed in all the areas and all the ways in order to be a viable partner for somebody. We're always going to have things to work on.
right, absolutely. And I always appreciate someone being honest and transparent and upfront that that's where they're at, right? Again, makes allows us to make decisions. So, goes back to the question, so how do you actually date when you're working on yourself?
I mean, stop expecting yourself to be completely healed before you're allowed to have relationships. You're human, and relationships are one of the places where like our unresolved stuff can get activated, and we might not know where it hurts till someone pushes on it in order for us to be aware and to do the work around it.
Unfortunately, it is a mirror, and that's when you recognize, oop, that feels good, or nope, that's not great. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, you can be in therapy and emotionally intelligent and self-aware and still get triggered when someone you like takes 6 hours to respond to your message. Like the goal is not to become someone who never gets activated. That is not how we work. The goal is to become someone who can respond differently when they're activated, who we have control over. It's not to not feel, it's to manage what we do with that feeling. So instead of, I need to text them right now, you can just tell yourself, I'm feeling really anxious and I want some reassurance.
Yes.
What what do I do? What I've been really pushing my clients lately to create a kind of like a pros and a cons list, but a feelings and a facts list. Here's what I feel, blah, 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 because we want to acknowledge those things. Writing them down helps to acknowledge it.
By the way,
And then
the first time you're hearing acknowledge, that means acknowledge and validate, and it's one of Sierra's words.
yes, acknowledge is one of our words, or my I guess it's my word. Do you use acknowledge now these days, or is that just me thing
Mm,
still?
no, that's you.
It's just so much easier. I say acknowledge and validate your feelings so much. Acknowledge them. Shortcut word. Anyway, I digress. Look into what you actually need. Maybe you need reassurance or clarity. Maybe there's a part of you that is, not even this present version who's asking for something and they need to be addressed directly. But recognizing that the person isn't giving you what you need in that situation, asking for what we need, improving our window of tolerance for uncertainty. Like, okay, can I sit in this space where they haven't texted me back in 6 hours and pay attention to the dialogue in my head? And am I coming up with stories around, obviously they're doing this, that, and the other thing right now, or this is happening? Or can I say, okay, I can notice that I am feeling anxious and fearful of what is happening right now. I'm not going to come up with stories and catastrophize that. They will eventually get back in connection with me, and I will find out what it is that I need to know here. And then I will decide how to proceed with things. And if I don't hear from them at all, that's information too, remember?
Yep, it's not about, the goal isn't about being always being calm and grounded and unbothered. It's just the nervous system regulation. You're going to have highs and lows in life, unexpected twists and turns, and just the ability to be able to, what you said, build that capacity, acknowledge, and take care of yourself. So now we really want to get into some green flags we don't talk about, which is exciting. And I think I'm going to challenge the internet here because, and I've heard this, and I agree that this is important, but apparently a green flag is now, oh, they planned a date, they picked a time and place to meet.
Y'all, the bar is in hell.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Bare minimum.
Bare minimum basic stuff.
It is. Let's be honest. Come on now. Unless you're just not used to that. But I remember being like, oh, that is so sweet. He planned mini golf and then dinner. And then, oh, he remembered this. Like, come on now.
Yeah. We're looking for someone who's consistent and someone who can apologize without making you tend to them emotionally. Someone who can hear the word no without reacting. Someone who doesn't make you earn basic affection.
Yep.
Someone who communicates when their feelings change or can tolerate conflict without it threatening the relationship. Um,
There's so many. Someone
there
whose
really is.
actions generally match their words, right? So now we're looking at consistency. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for the role of the person they choose. Someone who really wants to get to know you. And these green flags can look different for everyone, but it's more than just, oh, he texted me back. He's timely, or he planned a date. It's, or she planned, or whatever your green flags are. It's more than just those behaviors that we have glorified or we've heard about online.
100%. And it's a balance between the facts in this situation of, okay, how do they show up and what are the things that they do, and how do they make me feel? Do I feel like myself around them? I'm not constantly performing or adjusting myself or trying to earn that affection or that closeness? Like, can I just exist with this person?
Yep. And you and I have talked about that. It's from now on, well, for me, I'm just going to exist. I'm not going to overperform. I'm not going to people please or go out of my way to earn your approval. I'm just going to be. And hopefully that's enough. So we did touch on the dating apps quite a bit. We also want to make sure that we're tying this into self-worth because it can be a slippery slope when it comes to dating apps and what it can do to your self-esteem. I've heard even men talk about, I had to get off. Like, it was so disappointing and frustrating. Women weren't messaging me back, or I was being ghosted, because rejection is now quantified. You can literally see it, right? No matches, or sometimes five matches. Someone unmatched you, someone viewed your profile, someone didn't respond. And that unfortunately can take a hit to someone's self esteem if you aren't paying attention.
Yeah, I've had to have conversations with clients, and that ability to have that conversation came from personal experience and having that conversation with myself at some point around literally anyone can get on a dating app and create a profile, whether they're ready or not, whether they have good intentions or not, whether they're actually interested in forming a connection or they're just browsing, whether they're in a relationship with someone else and they unfortunately just downloaded it for the day or the weekend or whatever. Maybe they have been, dating around, they met someone else they connected with, they deactivated their profile. I mean, there's so many different reasons that someone might disappear on a dating app. There's way more variables outside of you. Again, you are the constant there. So assume that it's not you, it's them, and
It's
keep in
always them.
perspective.
It's
It's
always
always
them.
them. Keep into perspective the space that you're in and don't internalize that. This is such a funky way to connect with people, but unfortunately, because of the instant gratification and the ease and accessibility of it, it's the primary way to go about meeting people. You know what I've been hearing a lot about though lately is speed dating. Have you been hearing anything about
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, have you done it?
Well, funny story. My friends and I were going to a speed dating event, and we decided, hey, let's not get the tickets yet. Let's just make sure there's enough people that there's, let's go and check it out. And yeah, we just got some coffee and turned around and left. And actually, we met this other lady who was going to go, and she seems to turn out to be a really cool woman, friend. So something came out of that, but we just walked in and realized that's not our, scene. It just didn't feel aligned to what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So, but I'd be open to it again.
Yeah.
Sounds
So I don't
fun.
know. I think people are aware of the toxicity of dating apps and trying to create other ways to meet people, but dating apps measure dating app behavior. They don't measure who you are as a person and your worth and all of that. Sometimes it means you weren't selected by one person in one particular context. That's it. They don't actually know you in order to make a judgment about you like that. Everyone has their criteria. I know I have mine when it comes to swiping on someone.
Speaking of criteria and what you're looking for, the big question, right? What do you actually want? This reminds me
Oh
of the
my
Notebook
gosh.
scene. What do you
What
want?
do you
It's
want?
not that easy. Maybe the biggest dating problem isn't that dating culture is terrible. I mean, it's not easy, but maybe it's because a lot of us really just haven't been honest with ourselves to what we actually want and what we're looking for.
And I think a common issue is like before we get all tangled up in, oh my gosh, do they like me? Ask yourself, wait, do I even actually like them?
Yep.
Or why haven't they committed? Are they actually offering the type of relationship that I'm looking for? Are they capable of what I need? How do I make them choose me? Do I want to be with someone who I have to convince to choose me?
No, thank you. Again, just existing people.
Yeah. Dating is not supposed to be an audition where you have to convince the other person that you're worthy of love. It's supposed to be mutual discovery, data collecting that turns into, oh, these things are compatible, they're aligned. We're evaluating each other, and sometimes it's, hey, we're both good people and this is nothing personal, but we're not compatible. That's not a
Yeah.
failure, it's just dating.
Yep. I've had those healthy conversations. Just not
Yeah.
compatible, you know. You live super far and have 5 kids, and
Yeah.
I live on the other side and have two. Like, that's not, how is that going to work? That's going to add a whole other layer of stress into our lives. So,
You have a cat and I have a dog that eats cats.
exactly. You're
So,
exactly. That's actually come up for me as well. Oh, you would have a cat? Something? No. Okay. Well, so maybe dating in 2026 isn't about figuring out how to play the game better. Maybe it's about deciding whether you even want to play the game that way, whether you know what you want, who you are, what your values are, what you're looking for, and the relationship you have with yourself.
yeah, being conscious and being intentional, like slow down to notice what your nervous system is doing. More about learning the difference between chemistry and anxiety. A lot of times we confuse the two, and that can lead us down the wrong path. Uncertainty and incompatibility,
Mm-hmm. And
you know?
maybe we can stop treating every person we date like they're either our soulmate or walking red flag.
Yeah. Do I want to be this person? Just want to be with this person, or am I actually a good match with this person? Sometimes they're just a person,
Yep. Sometimes they're just a person who likes pineapple on pizza, and that's okay.
or it's a red flag and a deal breaker. No.
Exactly. And sometimes it is that way. So,
But seriously, dating is vulnerable. It's awkward. It's disappointing. It's exciting. It can be fun. We don't have to eliminate the discomfort. That's not realistic. But just have the self-awareness to be intentional, to know where you're at, what's going on, what you're okay with, what you're not, what you want, all of those things, and do the hard thing.
do the hard thing. Yes, do
Do the hard
it.
thing. It's hard to have the conversations around our boundaries and what we want, and hey, sorry, this doesn't work for me, or I want more. Do you want more? A lot of times it's doing the hard thing. And I don't know, Morgan, she was a guest on our podcast last year. She always is a big proponent of that phrase of we're all just walking each other home. And that just came into my mind right now of like we're all out here having a hard time for the most part when it comes to trying to find a partner. It's not easy. It's vulnerable, messy, scary, hard stuff a lot of times. And so be kind, be intentional, be clear,
Yep.
and take care of you.
You don't have to eliminate the discomfort. You just need enough self awareness to know when the discomfort is part of vulnerability. And we hope you found this episode helpful. We're always open to your feedback and questions. And please share with anyone that you think would benefit from listening.
Happy dating. Today's vibes are prescribed as mutually compatible. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.